All right, what's going on, guys? My name is Logan with West Desert Wheeler. Today we've got a really cool car that I am taking out for the first time on video. I took this out for a shakedown run with a couple of my friends, went up to Jason's place. In his backyard, he basically has like a river wash that you can go crawl RCs through, and it did awesome. I'm really enjoying the car so far, but I want to get it on my familiar lines and see how she does. So that's what we're gonna do in today's video, but first we're gonna take a look at this car. This thing's really sick. Let's take a look at it. So this is my FAB Kalif chassis. This guy is made in America. These are all TIG'd and then braze filled joints. They are super clean. I actually painted this chassis, which is a little bit of a shame because like the joints on these things are just awesome. They're also crazy strong and extremely light. This is real tubing here. The real small stuff, this stuff I believe is actually solid rod. And from what FAB has said is that this solid rod is actually a bit lighter than the tubing, but they're crazy strong, crazy light. One really cool feature on this guy that I had to have added to it is that the upper link mounts are actually tabbed straight onto the chassis. So it's not like part of the skid plate where I mount the upper links. It's a real metal tab that gets added to the chassis on the front uppers. And that is because I went with a VFD skid plate and transmission. It's just a more scale, realistic setup to a real Kalif car. And another cool thing that happened was I actually know Kalif Redden and was talking to him, and he gave me a phone call and talked to me about 30 minutes about the link geometry setup he has on his mini Kalif car to make it as realistic as possible to his real Kalif cars, because that's what this is based off of, is a real rock crawler. So my geometry doesn't match Kalif's real car exactly, but the only downside I really have is just the link separation of the chassis side is a little too far apart on these front uppers. The rear should be pretty solid, but gonna be a really good time. I've got the 2.2 Vanquish Battleborns on here. We've got a Vanquish Capra axle in the front, Reef Smart 1100s front and rear, a Fusion in here. We've got a VFD transmission with a dig unit, so I can do front wheel drive only. It's the standard VFD, it's not the twin, so I can't do front and rear only. But then in the rear, we've got a Trial Capra housing on the back. And the reason I did that is because the differential is centered on the Trial. We've got a centered output for the rear, and then we've got an offset output for the front. So we have the offset front differential with that Vanquish axle. Got some Rock Pirates RC links on 6 out of the 8, and I believe my front lowers are not Rock Pirates. I think those are actually some incision links from a stance kit. So there we go. I just put together the links I had in my box. They ended up pretty clean overall, considering I didn't actually have a kit. And then these are Axial SCX Pro shocks. So that's the basic rundown of what we got on the truck. We are running an external BEC to give these Reef servos here 8.4 volts to give them full kill. And then all my wiring and electronics is kind of hidden in this little box right here. But I really wanted this to be like a super simple, easy to use car. So the battery tray is very generous. This is from FAB. So it's got tons of room. The Velcro strap makes it super easy to get in and out. Really easy access to the power button, just super simple layout. I want to go drive the hell out of this thing. And so just being able to get batteries in and out and run larger battery packs is really easy and awesome for actually crawling. A lot of really scale buggies have to run tiny batteries, and it's a pain in the butt to get them in and out. So this is the way I went, and I think that's what I'm gonna stick with for now. Right, so one weird thing that I did on this build compared to my typical setup is I'm running my cut and shut crawler in G8 compound. That's not weird at all. I love those tires, and that's why we're running them on this buggy. But the inserts, these are not SL3Ds currently. These are actually Vanquish dual stage 5.1 foams. I wanted to test them out in my cut and shut tires to see how they fit and how they feel. And so initial first impressions are that they're definitely firmer in their feel. So we'll see if that helps or hurts us here. But the dual stage, the inner single stage is very firm and should definitely fight against the sidewalls rolling out and whatnot. This is a pretty big climb right now. The rain continues to wash away this sand area and is making this more and more difficult to get up. Oh. So one thing I mentioned there with that front upper link separation, that causes my front end to pick up a tire a little bit easier than I prefer. The problem is with the upper link being tabbed into position as it is, and with these metal housings, I don't really have an option on adjustability for my front links. Ah, that was close. I almost had that. That's why I kept driving. I was hoping she would settle. We may not be able to make this. I mean, this just changes so much that I don't know if anything's currently able to make it. And we're working with a new car and mystery inserts. And I've just dug some holes here. All right, come on, car, settle down. Come on. Come on. Give me something. Yeah. I don't see it pulling up this at the moment. Now, I really enjoy these Vanquish VFD transmissions. It puts the motor in such a great spot. But Vanquish also offers a lot of upgrade parts for these transmissions. You can get high-strength steel overdrive gear sets for them. And that is what is in this guy. Like I say, it just likes to pick up that front tire. That's the issue we're gonna have to figure out how to fix on this guy. And even if it ends up going back to UC FAB at some point to alter those upper link mounts, that may be something we do long term. I don't know. We'll give her a chance and get a feel for it first though. But this VFD trans has the lightweight high overdrive gear set in it. I've got the lightweight front motor plate that's aluminum. Right here is just a traction issue. We just need to get this thing to pull up. Come on. Get up there. Now this UC FAB Kalif chassis might look a little bit different than something like the RC Speedy Kalif clone, which by the way is not licensed, and I really like that the UC FAB is licensed because I know Kalif, and it's just overall better when the owners are on board with the project rather than somebody just ripping off your design and calling it almost, like they call it like a KR1. They know it's a Kalif Redden chassis, but then they don't give them real credit where it's due. So I like that UC FAB does give them credit where it's due. But it looks different because this is based off an older chassis design versus Kalif's current car. The older chassis actually belongs to Brett Dickey, who has been kicking absolute ass in every competition that he runs that car in. I mean, he's won Trailbreaker with it. He's won a bunch of We Rock events with it. Everywhere that kid takes that thing, he is taking home first place. This thing's just a unit, but the car Brett owns is what this chassis is based off of. So Brett also has a clone of his real car, and Kyle did a really cool build where he fully tabbed out the entire belly of it, but it was so nice that Brett didn't want to run it and ruin it, so they built him another one to go out and run and drive with not as high end of parts. The original one had like metal Vanquish axles and all that fun stuff, and I believe his driver clone is plastic capper housings, if I'm not mistaken. But both of them turned out awesome, and it's super cool to see the clone of Brett's car in the RC form. I didn't go for any kind of clone or anything on this guy. My old real buggy was a Hulsey Engineering, and in my wrap I put on my car, I put my sponsor of Utah Air Guns on the hood, so that's just a little bit of an homage to that. But this is a totally different chassis than the car that I had. This is going to be a difficult one here. We'll see how she does on this. Luckily we got rear steer to help us through here. But I mean, it gets you off camber. It really needs to bite. Let's try and push the whole car that direction. We're way offline. This ain't it. Now we're getting crazy with it. I mean, it might pull that front end around. Let's try a dig. VFD dig available from Vanquish. A lot of people have questions on that. It kind of surprises me. Like, I don't know how many people realize there's a dig available for the standard VFD. Wow, that is the weirdest way I've ever actually gotten through that successfully. That dig unit absolutely saved our line there. And one shot it with that, so not too bad. Really don't want to lose this down this waterfall, which it's trying to dogleg on me. Don't do that. Okay. The real portal buggies will dogleg like that too. I think part of what it's caused by in the RC is high overdrive. Sick. We made it through, and it's a big fall down there. That's a solid 12 feet to the bottom. Now, speaking of overdrive and Kalif chassis, Kalif Redden is one of the few drivers I know that runs an aggressive overdrive in his real car. And I was out crawling with Dave Long one time, and he knew the gear ratios that Kalif was running. He ran the numbers. It's about 20% overdrive in a real car on 42-inch stickies. That's a lot of strain on that thing, so it's pretty cool that Kalif is doing that. Now, I know Kalif personally is more into motor on axle cars because most of the buggy guys are. It's kind of interesting. They like the all-out performance, and I think they also like the full controllability of selectable front and rear, and then also variable overdrive and stuff through the electronic control, which is really cool. So when they built Kalif's car, they actually did a dual motor setup, so it essentially acts like an MOA and has all the tuning ability through the controller like an MOA, but it looks like a Kalif car. The dual motor stuff is really cool, and I definitely want to get a build going with the dual motor stuff. Man, how awesome does that look? Cruising through these red canyons out here. There's also a spider web hanging across here, and I'm going to try not to take it out with my face. These foams are doing us good though. They're not conforming as much as the squids do. This would definitely be something more suited to a heavier rig. And this guy isn't a lightweight per se. But it's interesting because foams are always so odd. You can, just because the packaging says it's a 4.75 does not mean you're limited to use it in a 4.75. Now, these foams are a true 2.2 inner bead, and they market them as a 5.1 tall because it's for Vanquish's 5.1 tall tire that they offer. But they actually fit really good in these 5.25 crawlers. So it just depends on the thickness of the carcass and whatnot as to what they fit in well and what they perform in well. Like I say, these are firmer than my squids, so it's actually a good full fill on this. Like, they're properly sized for these tires. Now, there's a company overseas that is starting to make a scale-looking shock that clones an ORI style shock, and that would look really appropriate on a build like this. So I'm in the works of trying to get a set. They're not currently available as of making this video, but I'm talking with the guys who are doing it, and I'm trying to get a hold of a set, and one of them is definitely going to go on this car. I'm trying to get a couple sets. Not sure where the other set will end up, but I really want a set for this guy. Oh, it's so close. Dang it. See if we can get more of a grip on the front and rear. The overdrive on the front end really hurts us and stuff like this. There we go. Disconnect the rear drive shaft. Take the overdrive out of the equation. That front end just likes to lift, and that's just my personal suspension geometry setup. That's kind of my fault there. One of my favorite little details on the back of this guy is this aluminum plate on the chassis. Just meant to look like the fuel cell on the back of the crawlers. There is one detail I definitely want to add, and that is a radiator behind where the driver's seat would be. The real car has that behind it, which is Brett's car. And Brett's clones also have little plastic radiators right there. And there's a lot of dead space in this chassis right there. So I definitely want to add just a little something so it doesn't look quite so empty. And that was really starting to snap over quick. This is an area where we could use dig to help settle that front end. Just need to get the rear in the good spot first. Yeah, just trying to get that front end a little bit further in before I dig it where I need it to go. This spot has been tricky. It's sometimes you win, sometimes you don't, depending on how washed out it is. Okay, let's dig before I think I really need to. So for shifting duties on the digs or servo, we got a Reef's Micro 99. They're plenty fast and they've got plenty of strength for shifting the dig unit on the Vanquish dig units. They're also small and lightweight. I actually mounted it to that battery tray on the interior of this car. And that took a little bit of custom work. Not really something they intend for that, but I did it. Yeah, what if we just do buggy stuff and drop that front tire into the bottom? No, it didn't like that. Yeah, I don't think we're getting up this one today. Oh, no. Where there is a bind, there is traction. I have said this before. Now we just need to pinch those rears through. Just crawl slow. Pay attention to what she wants. Little movements. All right, we did it. I genuinely wasn't thinking it was going to do it. A little bit of skill, hardware into the rocks, it pulled us through. Not too bad. Now I did just throw this truck on a scale before I headed out the door, and this guy ended up at 6 pounds, 14 ounces. I know that We Are Sea Rock for a while had a 7-pound minimum weight limit. I believe that's still the case. Obviously subject to change, but I had a UC FAB moon buggy for a while. I did end up selling that, and that guy had Vanquish F10 axles that were aluminum and the big brass weights from Vanquish there. And that thing weighed 6 pounds and 15 ounces too. So a lot smaller footprint of the car, but same weight. Also, this car has dig unit in it, and the other car did not. The other one also had a deluxe Nod 2 transmission in it. And that's a lot smaller and lighter weight transmission than this VFD is. So pretty impressive really that this car is as light as it is, even though it's not a lightweight. Okay, get that hook up there. Come on, car. Quit that. No, that was too much. Need to bring the rear back. That's a good hook in the front though. That's what we need. Pull it through. Pull it through. All right. Now we got that bite on the upper ledge of the rear. This is a really fun obstacle. It's very tricky. It's also one of the few obstacles I know of that's like one of the closest to a real buggy obstacle that I know of. There was a trail breaker where they had an obstacle very, very similar to this. And the trail is Red Dot for anybody familiar with the Sand Hollow buggy trails. But it's like 3 big steps in the real buggies, just like this one is. Man, it's gonna try and roll us here. Don't do it, car. Nice, dual stages are helping us push that front end around. Just not quite enough to get it positioned where we need. That Reef's 1100 trying to pick up the whole car. It's really hard to correct this line. Okay. It's also pretty steep. Might not be coming across. No! It slipped down right when I didn't want it to. Quit that. Again? Really? Now there are still a few things I want to do to this guy. I definitely want to add a set of rock lights, and I'm not sure if I'm going to go with the Rock Pirates RC locker lights, or maybe some Helium lights. That is also an option. Or maybe something else, but I want to keep wiring to a minimum. And then the other thing I want to do is actually add more brass to the front of this. On my West Desert Wheeler Capra, which is my drag axle Capra with the winch mount in it. It's the gray and orange one, if you guys remember. If you don't, I've got plenty of videos on YouTube with it. But that one has Samix brass knuckles in the front that have a portal cover that looks like a brake disc. And I really like the amount of weight that's in the front of that car, and I also like kind of the scale realism of having something that looks like a brake rotor rather than just a big chunk of brass. So I'm gonna try and track a set of those down. I already ordered them with Sky RC Hobby Shop in St. George, Utah. I went in there and I was like, hey Cody, I want some more of those brass knuckles, because that's where I bought the original ones. And he's like, no problem, man. I'll get them ordered up for you. So shout out to Sky RC. Cody's awesome to deal with over there. And knows his stuff, man. I've seen so many people bring in broken bashers and race cars, and they'll ask for a part, and he's like, yeah, you're gonna want that part, but you probably also need this part, and this part. And it's pretty wild how knowledgeable he is on so many different platforms. So definitely go to Sky RC in St. George if you have any RC needs, more than just crawlers, for sure. No, car, quit doing that. Well, I think I'm done beating my car up on this one. But one thing that was very important to me in this build was that I was able to just go out and drive it. I want to drive this thing a lot. I love portal buggies. I love scale metal buggies. My old UC FAB I had for a while, I always had these grand plans of doing more with it, and it never came to fruition. And so I didn't drive it as much as I wish I would have. And I really just want this one to be a driver car. So the fact that I'm rolling it and crashing it and stuff, it's what I do with my cars that I drive, you know? It happens. I'm not gonna let it keep me up at night. I wanna enjoy this thing. I painted the chassis with Steel-It, so it's super easy to touch up. Other than I'm gonna have to disassemble the car to touch it up if I wanna do it well. So yeah, that's part of it. But also the real buggies, they get rock rash, man. They get all scratched up and whatnot. So the more it is that, the more scale it is, really. There we go, wiggle our way out. And if you don't think that part was scale that I just did, Kalif has a 400 horsepower Ford EcoBoost in his car. So I've seen him get rowdy with that thing. So yeah, scale enough. If only I could have a scale turbo. And I mean a functioning, running engine with a turbo in this thing. That'd be cool. But then I don't get the benefits of it being electric. Being able to run it upside down and sideways. I definitely think there's a place for electric motor rock crawlers in the real world. And it's not even about some of the reasons you may think. It's for what I was just talking about, being able to run upside down. I mean, that's a wild idea. A lot of guys try it with gas engines, but that's usually the limiting factor, is your engine gives out, so you have to give up. Oh, Oh, come on. Nice, nice. Barely pulled through that one. I was a little concerned for a second. We're gonna pop that front tire up now. Keep that rear climbed. And then crab. Work our way through this spot. It's just wide enough to get through here. Then we're gonna kick the rear around. Follow that wall. Dip the tire in. And then flex her out on the climb. Hell yeah, that was sick. I love that line. That's one of my absolute favorites. It's right on the border of being too steep for this suspension geometry, which is really too bad. Like, I love how scale it is with that belly and whatnot, but if I have to go back to a capper skid just to get the performance I want, I will. I do have my West Desert Wheeler VFD flat skid adapter, so I can still run this transmission and use my own parts in this build, but it'll be a capper skid, and they've got those centered lower links. They don't look as good as this does, but I guess I gotta ask myself, is it more about performance with this car, or is it more about the overall aesthetic and being true to the real car? A little front dig to help settle her in. This is a tricky line here. Yeah, flexed out towards the edge. It's trying to dogleg on us. Front dig with that rear steer turn. Got her saved for sure. I was sweating it on that one. Because I'm going to use this car, but I don't want to intentionally just beat the hell out of it. I mean, after all, this is a 4-digit price tag on this chassis. And a lot of people are like, man, that's crazy. I'd never spend that much. Man, the craftsmanship literally can't be beaten. There's nobody doing it better than UC Fab right now. And this car was built by Gene. I've had one built by Kyle. Kyle taught Gene how to do it. They were both absolutely excellent. I've got no qualms about having Gene build me another one for sure. Get up there, car, come on. A ton of this line is really about this rear tire not getting pulled into that hole down there. Like that. Because once that tire is down in there, it just tries to roll you off the rock. So you got to try and balance it up like this and run your front sidewall through. But this car doesn't like that vertical. So I don't know what to do here. This one might not get this one. Extremely difficult line. This doesn't have to be my hard line killer, but I do enjoy pushing the limits on things. I'm learning what this car will and won't do today. Yikes. Oh, hit my trigger when I grabbed it. Let's try ourselves a pretty steep little drop here. I guess this isn't steep enough to really matter. The tires will be on the ground. Yeah. Nice little pull there. This VFD skid does skid across the belly really nice. We're gonna head into just kind of a stupid line that's pretty silly, but that's what's fun about it. I mean, I don't think it's that unrealistic to what the real cars would be trying these days. Now we're diffed out. Something crawling on my head. There's a bug. Get through their portals. Yeah, these cut and shuts barely fit through there. Uh-oh, uh-oh, uh-oh. Damn it. We're not done yet. We can still keep wiggling. There we go. Pull that front end up there. Come on, scratch and claw, let's go. This isn't even the stupid line I'm talking about. Get up there. Yeah. That was cool. I definitely had to work to save it through there. Nice, that was rad. Now we have access to our stupid line. Now because this car has dig, I'm actually gonna drop in forward. Typically I'll back into this one. And what we're gonna do is drive way out here on this ledge, and then we're gonna get her to rotate, and we're just gonna drop into this stupid drop. And I've driven this multiple times. This is totally a doable line. And like I say, this actually may not be that unrealistic to things Kalif would do in his real car. So we've got the nose clearance. That's a huge part of this equation. Yeah, the chassis design on that one actually made this pretty simple. Car was really getting bound up there, so I used dig to take some strain off of it. You got to drop those rears evenly, otherwise it's going to try and do that. All right, now we just got to work our way out of this one. And this one is usually not like a super pretty line. It takes some work. Multiple reverses and whatnot. That was pretty damn clean. It's not the cleanest I've done it, but I'm not complaining there with the new Buggy build. That was pretty sick. Dig helped a lot, but that chassis design worked out. So if you guys follow me on Instagram at West Desert Wheeler, I posted stories of when I purchased this chassis, and it sat around for a while before I dedicated. Wow, I had to put it back in four-wheel drive and hit reverse there. It sat around for a while before I dedicated the time and parts to putting this one together. And the reason I finally was like, all right, it's time to get this thing together is I'm going to Proline by the Fire. And this is going to be one of my main rigs. I want to go drive around there. So if you see me out there night crawling with some friends, I will probably be driving this. The nighttime hard lines out there, especially with the big buggy craze right now with everybody else. I've been on the buggy craze for a long time. My first like 1/10 that I got back into RC with was the 1.9 Wraith. So I've been about it since I've been back into it. I'll get up there. That's a big ledge there. Yeah, I don't think it's got it. I don't think it's got it. So if you see me out at Proline by the Fire, come say what's up, bring your buggy, let's go crawl at night. This line doesn't get coverage very much on my channel, but it's really cool because the wall on the left side is way over vertical, which means that the wall on the right side ends up like you end up fully on your sidewalls on the right side, even though that wall has a lot of angle to it. So you're just in there balanced in a crack, off camber the whole way, and like they just barely squeeze through. But it's a really rad line. You got to chase it out a little further than you think you need to, because you don't want to drop the rear way into that crack. But yeah, that's a super fun one out here. A little ka-chunk from the dig unit there. That was interesting. I did not touch anything on the dig unit. I think it just finally slipped into gear from enough binding. That was smooth. So wrapping this one up, we need to recover what I feel about those Vanquish foams after today's drive. They're very solid. I definitely would recommend them for my tires if that's something you're after, as an insert for them. I will say the SL3D is more compliant and offers more anti-folding the sidewall, because when I was on that 3-ledge thing, I had them bound up and I could turn with the 1100, and I was watching that whole tire kind of fold around it. And that's because it was foam and not a 3D insert. But they are a good choice. They are firmer, so you will want to use this on a heavier rig. If you got something lightweight, like a class 3 that's like 5 pounds or so, I would strongly suggest the SL3Ds. But I mean, if Vanquish is available in your area, or you just order it off their site, I can't fault you for that. It's a good second option out there for these. Something that's readily available. So guys, this is my FAB Kalif chassis, new build here on the channel. With the high-end chassis like this, man, it's hard not to go all out and try and do as much as possible, like fully build the transmission, make the link setup as clean as possible. I personally wanted it just to be as functional as possible. I'm sure most of you would go full-scale interior and whatnot. And I still may add a driver's seat and a steering wheel in this guy. I'm not gonna do much outside of that, probably. But I love the functionality of this car. I love how lightweight and strong they are. I love the scale realism of it. Check out FAB for their other options as well. Their Kalif chassis are pretty popular. They have also got the Jesse Haynes Moon Buggy chassis, and they're licensed because Kyle knows the manufacturers of them, like the real ones. So definitely check them out. ucfab.com will be linked below. And yeah, I love these things. They're super badass. I wish I still had my Moon Buggy, but sometimes you just have to let some of them go. Well, badass guys, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. My name is Logan with West Desert Wheeler. I put a lot of links down in the description of these videos. Just click the description, take a look at what I've linked to down below. Sometimes it's an affiliate link to something generic, like I'll probably link, I don't know, some kind of RTR Vanquish or Capra kit down there. And then you can go through that affiliate link. Anything you purchase through that website will give me a kickback. It'll help support me here. Or directly, you could go to westdesertwheeler.com. You can pick up a sticker pack. You can click on the link to my merch tab where you can pick up a West Desert hat, shirt, kids shirt, all that fun stuff. And I would greatly appreciate it. We will see you guys in the next one. Keep the rubber side down.